Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Now I have to ask, are you guys related?
No, our families have grown up together. My kids have grown up with Joseph, and his brother is now my son-in-law. So in that way, we're related.
You
Uh,
are,
but
yes.
that's
You have.
So we're connected.
we're
Yeah.
connected loosely by family, but we're not actually literally related.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, you have been working together for quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, yeah, I picked
Yeah.
him up when he was 16 as an actor, and he hasn't gone away yet. I can't get him out.
Just keep going back. I don't know.
Yeah, they say that once the acting bug bites you, you are done, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I hear.
Yeah.
I was bit by the acting bug when I was a teenager, but it really didn't take that well.
We both have been stage actors, and we're stage actors before working in film. And it's been really fun to see how helpful stage acting can be to film work. They're related, they're not connected directly, but they're loosely related. And it's actually really helpful to have worked in front of live audiences, I think, when making films.
Yeah, as a director or actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it seems like, when as I read, it seems like it's quite a normal, semi-normal transition. You see a lot of famous actors that become either
Mhm.
directors or producers of movies. So it's just
Yeah.
is it just a natural
Well,
evolution of the
you need the start in theater, I think, to understand audiences and what audiences respond to and how they respond. And so when you have a live audience there, you can feel whether they're with you or not. That sometimes means laughing and crying, but generally there's just an energy that you can kind of pick up from an audience when you're on stage. And then when you're on a film set, you don't have an audience until a couple years later when the film is released, and so that's a very delayed response that you're waiting for. So it's really helpful, in filmmaking to already have been on stage and kind of have that sixth sense about what audiences respond to and how they respond. And so then as
Absolutely.
an actor, you can kind of have that sixth sense in your head as you're performing for the camera rather than a person. Not performing for the camera. You should never perform for the camera, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then same thing. I would think with directing as well.
Yes, yeah, directing, you have to make directing decisions based on your experiences with live audiences. And if you've never worked with live audiences, I think some people have a natural director's instinct, but I think a lot don't. And I think it's really challenging. You gotta know that a line's gonna land a certain way when you write it, and based on your theater experience. But without that, you're shooting arrows in the wind, hoping it all hits the right mark. Because, like Joe said, you won't find out till a year and a half later if what you wrote actually connects with an audience. And that's terrifying.
That has to be terrifying. I guess it would be easier if you have a which we see this all the time. You have a best-selling book, that sold millions and millions. So it's coming to screen. It's going to be a success because people are
Yeah.
going to be like, "Oh gosh, yes, I can't miss that." But
Yeah.
when you're writing a screenplay and
Yeah.
you're like, "I don't know how this are people
Yeah.
Mom loved it."
Yes, yeah, which is never helpful. So sweet, but never helpful. Because mom loves everything. So.
Loves everything.
And for me,
So
that's why I have to have a good collaboration, and working with David and sending it to we send all of our stuff to
Yeah, we have friends who are
a
writers.
group of writers to kind of get feedback, and we know they're not going to pull any punches, and we try to
we love the writers who will say what they really think. Those are the most valuable feedback people for us, because people who just love us and love whatever we do, we love them, but that's not helpful. But if we know someone's gonna lower the boom and go, that's really not good, guys, that's like, oh, you're great, let's keep you around.
yeah, let's just throw it away and start again.
Yeah.
They're usually kinder than
Yes.
that, but yeah.
I
Or
hear
just give us
you.
something constructive to do with it.
Yeah, point us in the right direction. But yeah, it's exciting to see how writing translates. I mean, this is a relatively new thing. I've only been at this about 6 years, but watching your basically screenplay, like you would write for a theater, which is how I got started, translate onto screen and then appear before an audience and see the jokes land or the hard lines land and the audience respond like they would if they were in a live theater. that was kind of transformative for me. I'm like, oh, it still works. The things that I learned all those years in theater still work. And that was a huge relief the first time I sat in a theater and watched an audience watch one of our films.
Oh, I can only imagine. You know, it's funny because as you're saying that, I'm thinking I'm a writer and I'm a speaker too, right? And so I always say when people write emails about my columns or somebody I meet and say, I read your column all the time. I love them. And I tell them it's such a lonely profession because you know, especially like, you know, I write a faith column. So it's always on my intent is to encourage, inspire, make people think about faith themes. And so whenever I hear somebody say, hey, this is great, I tell them all the time, this is so good because it's such a lonely thing. You write and you're like, there you go. I hope somebody
part of my
likes
heart
it.
I just gave you. I hope it was worth it, kind of thing.
Yes. And but then if I'm invited to speak at an event, you just see the emotions, you see it's so different. So I can totally relate. I never thought about theater and the TV or movies be that kind of a difference, and I can relate. It's very different.
When you see Hollywood actors take a break from movies and come do Broadway or something else, it's because they crave that audience feedback. They work so many years hoping people like their work and finding out later someone at critics may or may not have liked their work. They take a break because they really want that live theater experience because it is a different ball game. And not every theater actor can do film. It's a different set of skills. There's some similarities, but there's some different skill sets. And not everyone can make that jump. Sometimes you'll put a stage actor on screen and they're too big. It's too much. The emotions are too outward and they overwhelm the screen in a really sadly artificial way. Worked on stage, but it does not work on screen. So not all actors can jump back and forth between the two. But you'll see a lot of Hollywood actors really crave that live theater experience because Hollywood acting on camera is really you give a lot and you get very little in return.
Absolutely. Joseph, question for you. You're 21 years old. Is that right?
Yes, just turned 22. Yeah.
Okay, I have a daughter who's 22. So you're so young and already have been in theater and in movies since you were 16. I believe that's when you started your first movie.
Yes, that's right.
I want you to tell me a little bit, like, how is this experience for you? How did you find out that was what God was calling you to do?
Yeah. It's something that I kind of always grew up around. Like I grew up doing theater, the theater program that David started actually. And so it was always something that I loved, and to be on stage and to tell stories. And my older brother was always making little home movies. I mean, all me and my siblings will always run around with a camera, making movies. And now he is an editor, and he's working on the House of David show with Amazon, and he's so.
I love that show.
Yes, yeah,
We're
he's done a
following
really
it.
good job with it. Yeah, and so it was always something that I really loved telling stories and just watching in a room how I don't know what we were just talking about how an actor would say something and just seeing the wave effect that it has over people, in a room was just like magic to me, and I wanted to do that so badly, and so then David mentioned to me auditioning for the film when I was 16 and trying some film acting, which the more I learned about film acting was really exciting to me, to really it's just so much smaller, so you have to be really genuinely feeling everything that the character is, but you try not to let it out, instead of on stage where you like are trying to perform for people and you're trying to show them
You
a
have to be
bit more. You
big,
kind of
right?
reach the person in the back of the room, you know so that was really exciting to me, to craft a three-dimensional person and to just let them live very realistically on screen. And so I just started acting, and did a couple films with David, and then I started just writing on my own, because I think that was a natural progression of writing. You get to be the actor for everyone, and instead of being restricted by lines, you get to make them up, which is a lot more to writing than that. But I think that was the initial spark. And then started writing with David, and then that got me into directing. And so I started, directing a little bit. And so it's really been amazing to kind of look back and see how one thing has led to another. And just how, doing theater and getting involved in that program led to, and our families getting connected with David, led to Cross Purposes, which led to Found, which led to, it's all snowballed in this weird effect. And it's kind of amazing, because there's so many times, I mean, there's millions of things that will happen in your life that God put in your way for a reason, and you'll never know why. And you'll never be able to look back and see the whole plan and the domino effect of how everything fell. But it's pretty amazing when those few moments where you can, and you're like, oh, this led to that, and that led to this, and here I am now. And now that I look back, I see where all the dominoes were falling in the perfect place for me to end up at the right time in the right place. And that's
Yeah,
just kind of incredible.
that's always how the Lord never reviews the entire story, right? He
Yeah.
writes a chapter, and you're like, okay, what now? And they have to
Yeah.
wait. So that's the adventure of living with the Lord. That's for
Right.
sure.
And being able to look back at that, and that just is more more to praise the Lord about, I guess, in the end.
Absolutely. Now, David, let me ask you this. So you have been in theater and then movies, and always from a Christian perspective. Have you always worked within the Christian circle, trying to bring out the Christian message? How has that been?
Not so much in theater. I worked professionally in theater here in Virginia for about 8 or 9 years, working with a company of professional actors that were permanently based in the State Theater of Virginia here at the Barter Theater. And it was a wonderful opportunity. I learned a lot. It was not a Christian theater. It's a standard repertory theater. And you work with a team of people who tell stories, and you're not always in charge of what stories you tell or how you tell them. They knew me as a person. They knew my heart. They knew I was a Christian, and I had some boundaries I'd set as an actor, and they honored those boundaries, which I appreciated. And the theater itself tended to be a little bit more family oriented because of just where we're located here in Virginia. But it was not a Christian experience. And so it was an opportunity to work alongside people who don't necessarily share my beliefs, and some who do. And it was challenging at times, but it was always a great opportunity. You bond with people that you work with in that environment in a special way, emotionally, and being able to be there and live life side by side. We're doing 8 shows a week and rehearsing, so we were together all the time. So it was a great opportunity, and I have lifelong friends that I actually brought into filmmaking with me, who've been just a blessing in my life, either as Christians or as non-Christians. So when it came time to make filmmaking, of course, being a Christian, that's where my heart is in storytelling. And it's going to come out that way. No matter what kind of story I'm telling, it's going to have that perspective to it. So when it came time to start making movies, of course, that was entirely up to me what stories I was going to write. And so in that case, making faith-based films was a natural stepping stone for me as well. And so that first story was Cross Purposes that we did have a message of life and affirmation and purpose and meaning in life. And I like to ask hard questions. I have belief in God that says there's no question that's too big or too hard to ask, because my God's big enough to answer it. So my art kind of expresses it the same way. I'm okay with asking the hard questions because God's big enough. He can answer those questions. And I have faith that the answer is going to be enough. I may not always get an answer when I want it or when I think I need it, but the answer is going to be there, and it's always going to be big enough. So I think our art should challenge us to explore that a little bit more. I think that shows strong faith in God, as opposed to being scared that we might ask a question that might cause someone a problem. I don't think our God's going to do that to us. So film was a great way to ask those questions and to continue asking those questions, as well as expressing our belief in how the world works.
Yeah. Well, I think that I have interviewed the Kendrick brothers several times and other producers of Christian movies or faith-based movies. And I see that everyone kind of started like you all. Joseph, you told the story of you and your brothers,
Yeah.
filming everything. As you
Yeah.
probably know, the Kendricks, that's how they started.
Yes.
They had a little bitty camera that they just shot and started doing things like that. And what I love about the stories of these production companies like yours is that if you go to Hollywood, you have a ton of money that comes behind the Hollywood movies. Here's the story. There's millions of dollars that are invested right away. And for the Christian-based film productions, it seems like everyone started small and the Lord has just blessed them more and more and more, which is such a testimony together with the movies that you all produce, such an inspiration for the believers that if God puts a dream in your heart and it is his dream, he will provide, right? He will give you the steps, and he's not gonna come like the big productions of Hollywood that somebody that's probably, most of them very wicked, give you all the money. No, but he will. If I heard a pastor say, God's will is God's bill, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, David, like, how do you get the funds to produce your movies? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's definitely been an experience. Our first little film that we made, Cross Purposes, we filmed it for about $9,000, and that is the catering budget for most, for snacks for most films. So that was money that we had set aside to shoot the film, and it has since earned that money back. We've been blessed in that movie was picked up for distribution. It actually went to the Kendrick Brothers Film Festival and was shown there and given an audience, and that was a real big blessing and a big help for us. It then picked up a distributor who then put it out globally, and it's since earned its money back. And the attention we got from that, from our distributor, said, "Hey, are you guys doing anything else?" Well, we got really brave after that little short film and said, "We're going to do a full-length feature, a 2-hour movie." And so we're putting that together and doing our best to make the money happen. But the money from the distribution of films has now been what's kind of feeding more films. So it's been like a snowball effect where one film kind of helps create another, which kind of helps create another, which kind of helps create another. And that only happens because the films are getting out there and they're being put out on streaming platforms around the world. People are watching it and supporting us, and that allows us to continue forward. So God's blessed us with an audience, and because of that audience is the reason we're able to make the films that we can now.
And it all started with just that small little $9,000 short that was it didn't get picked up and it didn't get recognition because of the production quality of it or how much money we had or how many fancy things. There wasn't anything,
It was very homemade.
It was very homemade, but
like
yeah. But why I think it took off in the way it did is because of David's writing. And it all starts on the page, and you need to have a story that's personal to you that you need to share, and people just saw that and could look past some of the production quality errors, in the film, because they were just so invested in the characters and the story that was in front of them. And so I think that's really helpful, especially for younger filmmakers who don't have a lot of money, who are just trying to make something work. It's like it's all in the script and it's all in the story that you're telling, not how fancy you can get. And also, just asking people, locations and stuff are hard to find sometimes. Like, we were supposed to shoot in a hospital. We didn't have a hospital.
We had no money and no hospital. We're like, we're not going to hang a CPAP machine up in someone's bedroom and call that a hospital. No one would ever believe it. What do we do? So how do we get a hospital? So we just asked.
We just asked the Johnson Memorial Hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, we have a whole wing that's shut down right now that we're not using. You guys can just go in there and use it." And we were like,
as long as you're quiet,
Yeah, okay. And I didn't really think, because we were just so lost in the movie. And at one point, there was one thing when they're all shouting for help for someone who's in distress, and then we realize, oh, we actually are in a hospital, guys. We need to not shout too loud, otherwise they're gonna come running. But
yeah, no, God provides in the most incredible ways. And as far as having a good story, that's great. But also make sure you've got good actors, because we all have seen the Christian films where, you know, Aunt Sue comes in and does her cameo, and Aunt Sue's a sweet and wonderful, lovely, lovely lady, but can't act her way out of a paper bag. And in that
Yeah,
moment of the movie, we all kind of lose the movie for a little bit until Aunt Sue gets her lines out and gets off camera. So I would really encourage people, get a good story that means something to you, and find some actors who can tell the story, who have some
absolutely.
skills. If you've got those two things and a little bit of money to put it all together, you can get started. There's enough technology now, you can do it yourself. And
Yeah,
there's
very
no
true.
reason in the world not to do it. Your voice is just as important as the Hollywood A-listers who are out there being backed by banks. Your voice counts too. You just have to speak up and say it. And it's exciting to
Absolutely.
see how many Christians are doing just that.
Yes. And David, tell me some of these titles so that my audience can look for you guys and where to find these books, these
Okay.
movies.
Well, that first little short film is about 35 minutes long. It's called Cross Purposes. It's available on PureFlix. And because it's a short, it's not on like Prime or things, but you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on like Shorts TV and some channels that feature short films. Found is the name of our other movie. It was our first feature film that Joseph also stars in that as well, too, as the main character. That can be found on Prime, Tubi, Apple TV,
Yeah.
Roku. You just type in Found. Now there's an older film from 2014 that's titled Found, but that's not us. I think it's South Vietnamese. I think you can tell us all apart. I'm not sure, but that's on there. And then
Probably.
Royal Ashes is also on PureFlix and Prime and
Yeah.
Apple TV and all those places as well too. Our latest film called Searching for the Elephant, which again features Joseph in a very dramatic role. It's very gritty and very good. It's going through some distribution hookups right now, and will be on Amazon Prime and Apple TV and all those
Tubi.
places, and Tubi really soon. I think right now it's only on Roku and Plex, I think.
Okay.
But in the next couple of months, it'll be popping up on all those major streaming platforms. Our website has links to all the films and where you can find them. So if you go to
Awesome.
www.crosspurposes.productions, you can find all of our films there.
And I will put all of that on my show notes so that my audience can find it very easily and
Thank
definitely
you.
support this incredible production company. It's a fairly small and new, but really doing incredibly good quality productions. I have watched a little bit, and it's beautiful scenery. You know, I'm very surprised, and I want to talk about searching for the elephant, because I didn't watch it all yet, but I'm very interested because the theme, right, is very interesting. I think it's something pretty common. So we're talking. You, Joseph, play a young man who's battling addiction, right? And
Yeah,
so I
that's
think it's going to really resonate with a lot of people. Tell me a little bit about Searching for the Elephant.
Yeah. So in Searching for the Elephant, I play Jason, and he is in trouble with the law and addicted to drugs, and he gets sent on parole to live with an ankle tracker to live on his grandfather's ranch for a year. And they hate each other, his grandfather and him. And so they through the course of the year, you see them have to live together and understand each other, and you kind of see the layers break down. And then there are some bad guys that are after Jason as well. And so
Little adventure at the end.
You have all adventure, so you have all the elements of a good
yeah. So it's like
story.
a neo-Western sort of film, and and so my character, I mean, but the grandfather's dealing with PTSD from Vietnam. You know, the grandson is dealing with a lot of his own past hurts and numbing it through his addiction, and they're both very isolated humans who are forced together into a box together, and so sparks start flying for sure.
We've had a lot of family members of people with addiction really relate to the story. It doesn't have pretty white bows on the end that tie everything up loosely, because people who suffer from addiction or have family members who do, it's often an ongoing problem. God can come in and he can be a balm of healing. It just doesn't always happen overnight. And that we felt that was important to support that with the film. And that, yes, God does come in and start bringing some resolution and some healing and some forgiveness within the family. And you start to see them come back together again. But there's still a lot to deal with. It's
There's
not
no consequences.
There's
you
some
know?
consequences of those decisions that impact the characters in the story. And even if you find God's healing there, the consequences are still there. And we find that in life. It's not one of those movies where everyone's wearing white robes and singing in the choir at the end, because magically everything's all gone and all the bad stuff's gone and only goodness remains. We feel like we don't really do a service to our audience when we present life that way, because that's often not how it goes. Often God's healing is a process and takes time. And so we thought that it was important that the ending of this film have that as well too.
Well, and it was amazing for me just in my character process. So I had like 4 months to prepare for this role. And so I spent that time, developing his entire backstory from his first memories with his father to, up until the film starts, of just going through, who he is, who he's known, how he got introduced to drugs, how when he goes to that, what relationships he's had in the past, and building his whole history. And then I met with a lot of and I did my own research on the drug side of things and what he's taking, and watched dozens of documentaries and things about and what everything feels like, and then met with people either going through recovery or who had been through recovery, and just speaking with them about their experiences. I mean, they were just so open and honest with me about what they had been through. And I appreciated their vulnerability so much. I had some amazing conversations. And then, tried to kind of take that and let their voices kind of speak through me in the film as best as I could. And I think that was the most stressful thing about this role, was portraying that side of things authentically, because the worst thing
Yeah.
that I could do would to be do it and then have people who have gone through that say, nah, that's not how it is. That's not accurate. And so it was pretty amazing going to the premiere of the film when it was all done, and having those people, there, and seeing what it meant to them, and how realistic they thought it was, and also how much the idea of redemption and hope at the end meant to them.
I love
So
that.
that was an amazing process for sure.
Love David, do you have like a story about anybody that has watched your movies, somebody in particular that you can recall where this movie or whatever movie they watched had a lasting impact?
Yes, there's been a number of stories. The first one pops into mind was a very sweet woman who actually did the catering for our very first film, Cross Purposes. She's just an adorable mom, and just one of the kindest hearted, most generous women you'd ever want to meet. She became very ill after the movie was shot, and she ended up being hospitalized and spent weeks and weeks and weeks in the hospital. And she was not able to attend the premiere of Cross Purposes that she had helped make. In my opinion, everyone there helped makes the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She helped make that story, and she had never seen it. And so she asked if I could send her a screener in the hospital, and I did. And of course, the point of that movie is that wherever life takes you, God has a purpose in it. And your job is just to be there for who he wants you to be, not who you think you ought to be. And so she watched this film, and she called me after watching it, and she was from her hospital bed, and she said, what that boy went through is exactly what I'm experiencing right now. You captured those feelings exactly the way it is. And that meant so much to me. And I thought, wow, for that to bring her comfort in her hospital. But I mean, she eventually passed on from that hospitalization. And the fact that that movie and that story captured her feelings and affirmed her in a way that lifted her and made her closer to God was so important to me that we were able to be there for her in that way. And that gave me hope that if we were there for her in that way, maybe we're there for other people in that situation, other people we don't know about who see the film. We're hopeful that that's of comfort to them as well.
That's great. Well, this was such an incredible conversation with, I just imagine so many people out there that may be interested in getting into filmmaking or acting, who are believers. And your story really is an inspiration, a young man, and somebody not so young, right, David? You and I are not so young, but we're
Not so
still
much.
what the Lord can still do something incredible with a dream that you may have. So, Joseph, I want you, as we finish our interview, I want you to inspire someone young, a believer that's listening to this interview and says, I love acting, but I just don't think that I can do this. Maybe inspire them, and a word of inspiration before we finish this interview. And then, David, I want you to talk to someone out there who is also like, maybe like me. I loved acting when I was younger, and then I never did again. But like, maybe talk to someone a little older that, hey, there's still room for you. So maybe
Yeah.
give us some pointers and inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being honest about with yourself about why you want to act and why that's attractive to you. For me, what acting has done selfishly, it it's made me learn a lot more about myself, and it I've learned something from each of the characters that I've played, and I try to be an empathetic person to the world around me, and I seek to understand others around me who live life differently than I do. And so that's a way of understanding. So that's what's really attractive to me about acting and the craft itself. If you're getting into acting because you want to be famous and on the big screen, then that's there's a lot of ways that you can be famous without having to act. Maybe try to for an influencer route or something like that, and maybe
TikTok.
yeah, think if that's the motivation that you want, because nothing's guaranteed in it. But for me, what I find most satisfying is the process itself, and coming to understand these people, learn more about myself, learn more about my faith, about the Lord, about how other people live. And so, yeah, that's to me what's most attractive about acting. And once you can just learn the craft and learn your own process on what you need, because everyone is very different. Everyone has a different way of getting to the same point. So for me, I tend to have to stay in character all day on a set, and I'll go and for some characters I have to write their journal from their perspective, and the situation they're going on, or I have to go do this and that and talk to different people. It's child's play in a lot of ways, and it's there's a lot of great resources out there as well, because you can add a lot of tools to your kit just listening to great actors talk about their process.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
just look them up. I just listen to dozens of interviews, every week, just trying to cherry pick. Okay, I like that from that actor. Oh, that doesn't work for me. I like this. Oh, I like what they said here. And just test things out and see what works for you, and just add as many tools to your kit as possible, and just start. Just set up your phone and work on a scene,
Cool.
yourself, and break down what the character is doing, where they're coming from, where they're going, and what their motivation is, what their obstacle is, and just start for yourself. And then I think other people will see that passion and catch on, hopefully.
That's cool.
And as far as making films, that was something I wanted to do in high school. Went to college and studied it, and life kind of took over, and I never didn't get back to it until I was 50 years old. And so it was
Wow.
one of those cool things where it's like God had put that on my heart, and He gave me other things to do with my family and other careers and things to do in the meantime. And then He brought it back around at 50, and I'm like, well, it's not too late. I mean, I set out to write a play, and because I was involved in the theater, and we have a playwright competition here, that I was trying to do it for that. And the idea of it being a movie kind of came after I started writing. I just sat down at a computer and started expressing myself on that page. And all I can say is if you're sitting down looking at a computer thinking, I really want to write something, just do it. Just start and spend a
Yes.
little time every day. As a writer, sit in front of that computer, it's an hour and a half a day if you can, or an hour a day, or 30 minutes a day, whatever you can
Mhm.
spare. Sit down in front of that computer. Some days you're going to get up and you're going to have 3 sentences on that computer and you're going to have done anything. And other days you're going to get up, it's going to be an hour and a half later, you're going to have 10 pages on there because
Mhm.
something's going to hit you. But write about what you know, write about your world, write from your perspective, tell your story because you're the only one who can. And don't be ashamed or embarrassed to share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've got it on that computer, print it off or email it to someone, share it with someone, and then talk to people about it. What we do is we finally get ourselves enough courage to express ourselves on a page, and then we hide it away in a box somewhere. We're too embarrassed because, like, I'm not a filmmaker. I can't do that. I'm not a book writer. I'm not that. I'm not those things. And I'm 50 years old. Who's going to want to listen to me? Well, I thought the same thing, but some people did listen to me. I did share the
Yes.
story with people and they did like it. And then they did want to make it. And then people did want to share it with the world. And they have for millions of people. And I'm still shocked by that. I still can't believe people enjoy the stories. But it
Well,
just took listening to God. If he's telling you to write it, write it. The rest of it will work itself out and then talk about it and it'll work itself out. So yeah, please, please, please express yourself. If it's for no one else but you, it's worth it. It'll be good for you.
I love that um, insight that you give on age. As a matter of fact, so funny. It's like this subject has been following me for 2 3 weeks now. I am getting older, that's one, but I feel like the Lord is trying to encourage myself and other people that I know out there to understand that it's never too late for
Mm-hmm.
you to do something that God puts in your heart. If it is God who puts it in your heart, and if it matches your gifts, your talents, your dreams, the things that make you tick like that, God will, it's not too late, just, and then you look at the Bible, right? Like Caleb is like 85 years old when God tells him, like, go conquer a mountain. Like, what do you mean? Right? And it was just,
Well,
you
you and I
know,
know writers only get better with age. We have more to say and more to
yes,
talk about. So if
so
you're
much more wisdom. And
so
I
much
just,
more life under your belt to live with.
yes.
So
And if you have walked with the Lord for any period of time, you have so much to teach, so much to share, and just ask for inspiration. Now, David, if somebody that says, okay, I think I want to act. So what would you suggest they do wherever they are? Like what would be a first step?
get that play written, get that movie script written, get that book written, and then get some opinions on it. And don't go to your mom or your sister or your mother, your wife. They love you and they'll say they love everything you like. Go get some hard opinions. People who will put you in your
Yes.
place and say, this is good, this needs work, this is good.
Yes.
Go to people who'll
That's
be honest with you and refine and refine and refine. And when you've got something that you feel like it's right, put it out there. There's ways to get movies out there. I had to submit cross purposes. We'd made this little tiny short film. I put it to some film festivals. It got into some film festivals, but I had to submit it. I had to actually put the
yes.
application in. And it was easy to sit back and go, oh, it's not good enough. It's not going to get in. I put it into 15 different film festivals, some Christian, some not. It got into 13 of them, and that's
That's
unheard of. That,
amazing.
that statistic is unheard of. I didn't expect that. It was overwhelming. And then when I submitted it to the distribution company, I'm like, I'll just try. I was actually making dinner. And I'm like, I guess it wouldn't hurt to try. Here's their website. Here's the platform. I'll hit send. And I hit send, and they got back to me the next day and said, we
That's
want the film.
incredible.
So you just have to take a step and put yourself out there. If you feel like God's giving you something, you need to share it. It's kind of like burying your talents in the sand if you don't share it, if he's given it to you. And you don't question, you just do it. God gives us our dreams. He gives us what we want to do because he's equipped us to do it. So if he's put a dream on your heart, it's because he made you to do that. And you know the
Wow.
difference between those passing dreams that come and go and the ones that stick with you your whole life. I had a dream my whole life I could make movies and write stories. And it took a long time, but I needed all those things that happened before to do what I'm doing now. And like Joe
Wow.
said, it's like a domino effect. You can walk back and see the path. And like, well, I needed all those things to happen before I was ready to do this. So please, please, please do never look in the mirror and say, I'm too old. You're just now getting started. You're just now worth your salt in the art world. So don't stop.
Well, that encourages me so much. And I know it's going to encourage somebody out there who just thinks they're too old. He was 50 years old when he started a production company with $9,000, y'all, and just a heart full of dreams and God's hand in it. And that's all it takes. I love it so much. David, I want you to share with my audience, how can people support you? How can we come behind you and, tell us a little more how we could help.
There's lots of ways. I mean, you can certainly go to our website and look at watch our movies. Anytime you watch any of our films, a little bit of that money, and I mean a little bit, a tiny sliver of it, makes it back to us after everyone else takes their share out of it.
It's like when somebody buys my book, it sends.
Yeah, exactly. You know how it is.
There's a big price tag on there, like, wow, that looks good. Wish I got some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching our movies is a great way to do it. I mean, you can contact us online if you want to support our films. I mean, we are working on a new project now. And if you want to be a backer in that film and be involved, or if you're a creative person and you want to be involved creatively, reach out to us online on our IMDb. We're there on the movie database. You can find us. Just type in Cross Purposes Productions. You'll find us online. Reach out to us and talk to us. I can give you encouragement, if nothing else. I mean, if you want to want someone to say you can do this, whatever you need to do, just connect and network. It's really about making friends and relationships and working together. So anybody who wants to work with us, we're always willing to talk and work things out.
Well, I love that. Well, Joseph and David, what a great and inspirational conversation to people from different generations, that can inspire the young and the not old, but a little older. Like, no, we're wiser, right, David? We're wiser.
Yes.
We're wiser.
And the young light little fire under us too. Joseph keeps me moving.
Absolutely. I had children later, and it's like my girls now are older, but for a while there, I was like, how am I going to survive this? But they did keep me, I think, on my feet. But anyway, this was a great conversation. Enjoy talking to you all. And I just pray that God will bless your company and everywhere you go in incredible ways.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you so much. And guys, listen, go to my show notes. You're going to have all the links right there to connect with David and Joseph and their company. And you can find out all about their movies and how you can support. So thank you again, y'all, and have a wonderful day.